Let me ask you a question. Do you ever find yourself fixated on what failed in your life? Be honest now. Do you ever find yourself just being overly fixated on what failed, what didn't happen, the door that closed, the door that never opened, the relationship that had a sloppy ending, whatever it might be, the business that you attempted to launch and it failed? Do you ever find yourself fixated on those things, just kind of like marinating and thinking through just the past? I want to encourage you, don't fixate on what failed. There's a story in the Bible in John chapter 5 about a man who has had this infirmity for 38 years, and he's laying by this pool called the Pool of Bethesda when Jesus shows up, and he asks the man, "Do you want to be made well?" Now the man gives an answer. He says, "Well, I don't have anybody to put me in the pool," because the belief was when an angel of the Lord would come down and stir the waters of the pool, then whoever got into the pool first would be healed of whatever sickness that they had. Now this man's been sick. He's been lame for 38 years. In other words, he cannot do anything without assistance. And so Jesus asked him, "Do you want to get well?" And he begins to speak out of his failure. He says, "I don't have anybody. And even when I try to make it, someone else beats me to the punch." That is a language of defeat. It's a language of failure. Now, we've all failed, and there's going to be other failures that we have. I'm not speaking doom and gloom. I just want to tell you that failure is just a part of our journey. It's a part of our life, but we need to learn lessons from failure. See, here's a difference between the person who grows and the person who stays stuck in defeat and lives life limited. Those who grow are the ones who take failure and they learn lessons from it. Those who stay stuck are the ones who become limited by it. So you only have two choices. I can learn a lesson from failure, or I can be limited by failure. And I want to encourage you and tell you today that God is not a God of limitation. He's a God of abundance. And He wants you to live a life with no limits because He's a God of no limits. And so are you learning lessons from your failure? Are you turning back and saying, I could see where I made a wrong turn. I could see where my decision-making process wasn't thorough enough. I can see I included some wrong people in the process. Maybe I should have did some more prep work, etc. Are you learning those types of lessons? Because if you are doing that and then taking those lessons and applying them to your future, you have a great chance of success and growing and moving forward into your future that God has for you. But if you're not doing that, if you're not looking at the failures that you've had and saying, how can I grow from this? What can I learn? And how can I better learn not to do it that way? And how can I move a different way next time? If you're not doing that, then there is a chance you're going to become limited by failure. Because now when you try to step into your future, try to step into a new attempt at achieving your dream, you're always going to reference the limitation that happened last time, and thus creating a ceiling over your life. And that can create a perpetual cycle of defeat if we're not careful. And so I want to challenge you today. Are you speaking the language of failure? Are you like the man in John 5 who said, I don't have enough. Every time I try something, something comes up and stops me. Are you going to allow things and adverse situations to continue to stop you? Or are you going to press forward and learn lessons from failure and not be limited by failure? Quit fixating on what failed. That's not where you need to live. Because failure only reinforces never in your life. Never going to happen, never will be great, never going to do it, never going to achieve it. Failure only reinforces that when you fixate on it. So come out of Neverland and step into the land of God can still use me. And that's the belief you have to have, is that God can still use me. He still has something for me, and I still have something inside of me that's valuable and God wants to use to help and bless other people. Stop fixating on what failed and learn lessons from failure and stop being limited by failure.